Welcome to another video from earnped.com. I am StevieB. I'm happy to have you all with us today. So guys, this is yet another video that I am doing for the Ascension Armor competition. This is for the March 2021 submission. So yet again, I am here on Next Island in ancient Greece, still trying to finish out this first part of the mission to tame the Autoloot pet. So clearly it takes a while even with a BC40 to get down through this. As you guys can see, you're starting to see what I mean. Something like this would have been a better way, in my opinion, to get people to come and partake in the event. I think this would have been something that if they would have set the event up more like this, it probably would have led to more people coming here, more people participating, but that is not what they did. So guys, as I continue shooting these guys and trying to get through this first part of the mission so we can get to the taming section, I want to let you guys in on information that a lot of players might not have about something that happened here years ago, and it's going to explain some things with Codex. It's going to explain some things with some of the high-level players. So let's get right to it. So before we had Codex, we had a mission system set up, looks something like this. And we used to have iron missions, and we didn't just have iron missions that had different stages. There were other missions that would be involved that would be under that same system, but they just weren't called irons, right? This was phased out about a year ago. They rolled out Codex. Most of you should be familiar with Codex if you're playing now. It's got 26 stages, last stage infinitely repeatable. You can get different rewards based off what you would like to pick. There's a lot of different rewards to choose from. With iron missions, there was usually 3 rewards. Some missions only had 1 reward. So they also recently rolled out the meta challenges, which are like Codex but for attributes, right? So attributes and skills are closely related. Skills can be chipped out or chipped in and sold. Attributes cannot. Attributes are account bound, and they grow much slower than skills. You might have 10 or 15,000 skills in a certain skill, but you're only going to have maybe 60, 70, 80, 100 attributes for a specific attribute like health or agility or psyche or stamina, right? So there are screenshots that float around that you might see every now and then of a player whose agility, which is an attribute, is over 200, or whose stamina is 150. And I get players every now and then that will see these and they hit me up and they're like, how in the absolute world did this happen? Well, it happened because there was a glitch in the game. So years ago, well before I started playing Entropia, Next Island had some challenges that came out where you could essentially complete the challenge and get attribute rewards. Not all iron missions or not all challenges that we had back then gave attribute rewards, but some did. And there was a glitch when this happened that some of these missions here on Next Island were repeatable. And not just repeatable, but infinitely repeatable. So what happened is some players in the know, messy, more or less quietly just grinded away at these missions as much as they could to get as many rewards as they could, and they just kept doing it until somebody figured it out. So if you ever see a screenshot of somebody who's scanned Messi, I think his agility is like almost 300 and his stamina is like 175 or 200. It's absolutely insane numbers. It shouldn't even be possible. And had those missions not just been repeatable over and over again, it wouldn't have been possible. But that's what happened. So after that happened, after him and a few other players got these insane attributes, they patched it. They made it where you couldn't do that anymore. And it gave them an advantage that other players just did not have and would never be able to have. That's just how it was. So that is one reason his HP got so high. It's one reason his skills are so high. Now, I mean, the man does grind 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Lots of money invested, lots of time invested, no F's given. I give him that, right? But it definitely was something that no other player was going to be able to repeat again without something like that accidentally happening again. So I noticed before they even rolled out the meta challenges for Codex, I noticed something. they started dropping these restoration chips that are limited. Now, we had regeneration chips that would occasionally drop, but they started dropping restoration chips. Not the unlimited adjusted one from Mission Galactica, but just the regular limited ones like 1 through 20, right? Got to run back to the TT for even more ammo. So these started dropping. I started looking at them. And yeah, you've got to have really high skills to be able to use these things, but also, more important, was the kind of healing that they can do. Some of these restoration chips can heal up to 1,000 HP per use. Messi has the highest HP in game, I believe, with like 530, 540. So, the very first thing I said when I saw this is Mindark and the Planet Partners want to raise the average HP into the several hundreds. Now, this makes a lot of sense to me for a very simple reason. If you have low HP, low skills, what are you going to hunt? Low-level stuff. Well, when you hunt low-level stuff, you're not spending a lot of money on decay, you're not spending a lot of money on ammo, and that's where the money is to be made by the Planet Partners and by Mindark. So it would stand to reason, if you were able to raise the average mid-level player's HP to 500, and you were able to raise their average profession level to 300. Hold on one second, guys. I'm going to TT some of this. Animal hide, BS, 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 BS. Now remember, I just spent 100 ped on ammo, right? So, what are you? No demand. No way. Okay, so 40 peds to sell. Let's just get enough to finish this out. 500 ped. Be done with it. So it stands to reason, if you were able to raise the average player's HP to, let's say, 500, and if you were able to raise their profession level to, let's say, 100, 150, it would stand to reason that by doing that, what you would make is you would make it where even the average player could now go out and hunt something like a Mulciber. That the higher level you can make the player, the higher you can make their HP, the bigger weapons they can use, the more money they're going to spend in decay, the more money they're going to spend in ammo, the more money the company can make. And it stands to reason, if that was your plan, you would have to make some kind of a healing device, like a restoration chip at the high end that can do 1,000 HP of healing per use, that could handle that kind of HP for healing. So they came out with the restoration chip first. So I saw that and I said, this is where they're going to go with it. Well, sure enough, what happens next? We have Codex. Codex makes things like skilling evade at Zykion absolutely pointless. Why would you spend 6 months skilling at Zykion like I did, when you can just go bang out some Codex levels and get the same results in 2 weeks? And actually have fun doing it. You wouldn't. Well then, not only do we have that with Codex, then we get the meta challenge. And this is where everything kind of started coming together for me. The more you grind, the more Codex levels you're going to accomplish. And remember that the Codex levels are infinitely repeatable. So you can literally pick one mob and grind it 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, until the end of time. And your skills are just going to consistently grow. But there comes a point where you've got so many skills that your growth almost stagnates to a stop, because even though the TT value is going up, the point value isn't going up, right? So the thing is, when they introduced the meta challenge, that changed. The reason that changed is because most players very rarely hit 100 in an attribute. And with the meta challenge, that is now not the case. If you're a hardcore enough grinder, if you grind hard enough, long enough, it is now possible that you could catch, if not surpass, Messi's skill level when it comes to his attributes. And what that means is more HP growth. There comes a level where whenever you're talking about skills, you're just not going to get much more HP. It might take you 3 years at a certain level to get 1 more HP. I don't know how fast Messi's HP goes up, but it's very, very slow. But with an attribute system, such as what we have with the meta challenges, it now changed the dynamics of the game mechanism, where even somebody like Messi can grow his HP fairly consistently, fairly quickly. And in fact, I'm sure since meta has come out, I'm sure Messi's HP has gone through the roof yet again. I do not foresee anybody ever catching and or surpassing his HP or his skill levels, but I see us getting very close. And I think what's going to happen is he's still going to be the leader, but I think what we're headed for is I think we're headed for a day where a casual player has 200 HP within a year. I think we're headed for a day where a mid-level player has 400 to 500 HP, and I think we're headed for a day where the gods of the game have 1,000 HP. I don't know what the realistic cap is. I know with enough time and math, you could figure out realistically what is the cap of HP one can achieve with the game set up the way it is. I would guess 1,000 HP is pretty close to what is realistically possible. So I'm assuming that's why the high-end restoration chips were made. Somebody at MindArt did that calculation. They figured that out, and they made that knowing that the gods of the game are headed to be needing it in the very, very near future. So I think what we're going to see is we're going to see a lot of players whose average profession goes through the roof because of Codex. I think we're going to see average HP go through the roof because of meta challenges in Codex. And I think the whole point of this is so that the average player will use bigger guns on bigger mobs, thereby creating more decay, thereby creating more money for the game. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing at all. I think it can cause some serious problems when we're talking about the PvP end of things, because essentially what that's going to lead to is you're going to have players who can go stand in PvP that 20 people can shoot all day long, and they're not even going to get hit. And then you're going to have players who have played for 3, 4, 5, 6 months that walk into PvP and get slaughtered with a minuscule weapon. But overall, I do not think it's a bad thing. I just think it's where the game is headed. So I wanted to point that out because one thing that I touched on in the previous video is sometimes having the ultra rare, ultra valuable, ultra high protection set of armor is nice, but at some point it becomes a thing of cost efficiency versus usefulness, right? Sometimes it is more useful to find somebody who has an improved or a mod fab, and sometimes it's smarter to hire them and use decent armor than it is to try and get the most expensive armor you can get your hands on. Sometimes it's smarter to use a limited weapon, an extender, and an amp than it is to go with an unlimited setup. I did a video a while back. I was in the Arcadia Underground, and for what I was hunting, I didn't want to use my super high efficiency weapon. I want to use a limited weapon with slightly lower efficiency, but that allowed me to have a better overall setup when it came to armor, fapping, and decay. So I think it's one of those things that it's good, but it's bad at the same time in some ways, and we're just going to have to see how it plays out. One way this kind of has to do with Next Island, and specifically Ancient Greece, is I talked about the Gorgon Shade Wave. There might be a day 3, 4, 5 years down the road where your average player has enough HP and has enough attributes and has enough health that they can take down stuff that only Lunchbox and friends can take down at the moment. That very well might be the case. The problem that we're going to have when we get there is how much money is the average player really going to spend once they're using bigger weapons. A lot of people, I would say the vast majority, try and play smarter, not harder. I would say for the vast majority of people, this game is about making money while having fun. And even if you have the HP, even if you have the attributes, even if you have access to the weapons, a lot of players aren't going to want to do things like hunt Mulcibers where maybe you hit an all-time high, but the odds are you're probably just going to lose, 20% of your bankroll and not get back stuff that's worth selling for markup. I think that's going to be a real problem we're going to have. I think there's going to be a lot of players who are going to have high HP, high attributes, that are still going to be hunting Exosaur Young at North Swamp Camp. Perfect example, this right here, these Argies, they haven't dropped any loot worthy of me coming and just hunting them endlessly. I think it's a kind of cool mob. I kind of like the way they attack, the way they hit, how aggressive they are. And I could even call this fun if the loot wasn't so absolutely horrible. I started with about 100 ped worth of ammo, I think. I got another 100 ped from the trade terminal, and then I just had to buy another 500 ped. And we're going to see where that ends me once I hit this 500 points, because I want to see about what this cost, just to get through this one little piece of this mission. But let's say you're a new player and you want the auto loot pet you've been grinding out for 6 months at North Swamp Camp. Are you really going to come to Next Island when you see me having to do this for over an hour with a BC-40? Probably not, especially if you're on a budget, especially if you're a low level or low depot player. And that's kind of a shame. Now, again, I don't think everything in game should be easy. I don't think everybody should be able to do everything in game. That's the whole point of being dedicated and, putting money into the game and cycling ped and playing smart and being careful about what you do and what you go after. That's a huge, huge part of Entropia. So no, not just everybody should be able to do just everything. At the same time, things should not be so insanely difficult that it excludes, 50% of the player base. It's a fine line because it's a weird game, it's a unique game, and the fact that it's based off of a real cash economy does have some major implications. There are games that most people can play, for one-time cost. Call of Duty, for example. I was looking the other day online, and there was a guy on the internet on eBay selling Call of Duty weapons, and the price was $2,000. It just kind of caught my attention, and I looked at his ad. What he does is he sits at home. He's really good at Call of Duty. So you pay him, and it's not $2,000, but you pay him, a substantial fee. He gets on your account, and he essentially will play Call of Duty and unlock different weapons and different skins for you, and then you change the password back and you get your account back. There's things that you can do in regular games like Call of Duty that you can't do here. If you were to let another player have access to your account to try and do something like the Gorgon Shade event, it wouldn't do you any good if you don't have the skills, the health, and the weapons. And even if you did have the skills, the health, and the weapons, but you didn't have the time or the game knowledge, giving somebody else access to your account is a huge no-no. That's a bannable offense because this is a real cash economy game. Do not ever give anybody access to your account. I don't care if it's a family member. I don't care if it's a close friend. I don't care if it's a player that you've known in real life for 10 years. Do not do it. It's an absolute no-no. But it makes Entropia a unique game. And there's a lot of things that, especially here on Next Island in Ancient Greece, I think really complement that. I think the whole time travel idea is very unique because the rest of Entropia is more or less a sci-fi game. Even a planet like Rocktropia, that is more... Rocktropia is set up almost like a GTA 5 feel. It's got a very Grand Theft Auto feel to it. I like it. It's got a lot of Hollywood stuff, a lot of zombies, a lot of vampires, stuff like that. I personally like it. I know a lot of people don't. Almost the entire rest of the game has a sci-fi feel. So whenever they did this time travel thing with Ancient Greece, I think it was kind of a cool twist. I think it actually fits in perfectly to Entropia. If you're bored with hunting drones and, mulcibers and stuff like that, you can come over here and you can hunt some stuff from Ancient Greece. One part of this mission, which you guys will get to see, is they actually have Zeus. Zeus is actually in the game. He is a boss. And at some point in this mission, which we're slowly completing, I'm actually going to have to go do battle with him. But my version of doing battle with him is he's just going to step on me. So even if you have a restoration ship that can heal you 1,000 HP per use, even if you have 1,000 HP, if you're a lower level player that managed to get there somehow, then, I mean, are you really going to spend the money on it? Now, I know what people are going to say. There's going to be a trade-off. The people that get 1,000 HP in this game from Codex and meta and all that, they're not going to be low-level or low depot or free-to-play players. Yes, you're absolutely right. Those players aren't. They're going to end up with 250, 300 HP. But even then, are they going to go hunt a level 40 mob when they really can't even afford the weapon to do it because it's a limited weapon like a BC-100 or an LR-90? Or instead, are they going to play more or less the same way they play now, and they're just going to keep hunting lower level stuff? I think what's going to end up happening is they're going to play the same way they play now, and they're just going to hunt lower level stuff. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. But time will tell. As you guys can see, I just made a big no-no. I just jumped into an entire pile of these guys. Very, very not smart, and if I was wearing my adjusted pixie armor, I would have been dead already. The only reason I am not dead is I'm wearing my ghost armor. One thing that I do want to mention, since we're kind of on the subject of Codex, is it has rolled out here on Next Island. This was actually one of the first planets to get it outside of Calypso. Tulun also has it. Arcadia and Entropia, as of currently, still do not have Codex. I was under the impression, and I didn't have any official information to work on, but I was under the impression that Entropia... Apparently there's a Next Island trade channel. Knit Trade. So Knit Trade is the official trade channel of Next Island. I knew there was something. Knit Trade. I'm going to change that to red. So I was looking earlier for different channels, guys. Knit Trade. N-I-T... or N-I Trade. N-I Trade. Next Island Trade is the official trade channel for Next Island. So pull that up there where you can see it. Hashtag NI Trade. Just found that from another player. So, where was I going? I was going somewhere with that. Crap. And that's what happens when my train of thought gets off, because I want to show you guys something. Anyway, point in case. I think there's a lot of players that really would enjoy Next Island a lot more if there was more reasons to come, or if it wasn't so ungodly expensive to do a lot of things, or if the loot was better. Oh, I know where I was going with that. So the good news is Codex did roll out here first. So Next Island, Ancient Greece, and Tulun, all three have Codex now in addition to Calypso. Arcadia and Entropia, as of yet, do not. I was on Arcadia literally yesterday after the update, and it did not have Codex yet. From what I've heard from friends, Entropia does not have Codex yet. I was under the impression both were going to be getting Codex right around March 1st. That did not happen. So I don't know if there's still a plan to roll it out there very, very quickly, or if there was a glitch or something. Whenever they do roll it out, especially to Entropia, I will be going back to smash out the hater mission very, very, very quickly. The good news for those of you who are coming to Next Island or to Ancient Greece to do some hunting, to do some exploring, is if you're coming here with friends, remember now that there is Codex, you can all get Codex rewards for one kill. So this is not something that you see with the old Iron missions. With the old Iron missions, if I do 51% of the damage, even if you do the other 49%, then I'm going to get the rewards and you are not. With Codex, if we're in a team, we can share the loot, as long as it's shared loot, in the team setting, which if you hit team setting, create team, you want contribution, share loot. You do not want looter takes all. If you're ever invited to a team where it's looter takes all, do not join it. You want contribution, share loot. And so if me and 2 or 3 friends were coming, we can make a team. We could come, hunt whatever we wanted to hunt, and we would share the loot based off what contribution of damage we did, but we would also be able to share the rewards via Codex. So this is something that was not possible on Next Island or Ancient Greece until Codex rolled out. Under the old system, it was just whoever did 51% of the damage got credit for the kill. So luckily with Codex and the meta challenges, this is now possible. One thing you might have noticed about the meta challenges, guys, is the meta challenges are directly related to how many Codex stages you complete. I believe, and I don't know if this is linear or if it changes, but I believe it is every time you complete a stage of Codex, you get 1/5 of a level for meta challenge. So whenever I looked last, I had I think I was on meta challenge 46. I completed 1 stage of Codex, and then I got 1/5 of a stage of that attribute meta challenge completed. So I don't know if it stays at 1/5 for every single level. I don't know if it changes based on how high your meta challenges go or how high your Codex go. But that's how it was last time I checked. So let's check real quick. Meta challenges 49. And yeah, it looks like I'm at 20%. So it looks like every stage of Codex that you complete, every regular stage, is 1/5 of an attribute meta challenge stage. That's what it looks like anyway. So guys, now that it is here on Next Island and Ancient Greece, it does make it more playable. There could even be an argument that potentially utilizing Codex correctly, utilizing Codex on Next Island in ancient Greece is actually a good enough reason to come to offset the poor loot pool and some of the downsides to trying to hunt here profitably. There are some mobs, I'm not going to say all mobs, but there are some mobs. If you can knock out a certain number of Codex challenges very, very quickly, very, very cheaply with minimal pet outlay, even if the loot has no markup and is just TT food, there is an argument to be made that the rewards that you can get from Codex and meta makes it worth hunting just for the rewards alone. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. We did not have that under the old system, but under the Codex system, especially with meta being introduced, there are certain mobs that you can hunt that if you can knock out a certain number of stages quickly with very, very little cash outlay, even if the loot has no markup beyond being TT food, it does factor in. Take that into account. I have some rewards that I haven't claimed. I don't claim a lot of my rewards specifically because of Mayhem. So I've probably got several hundred pet of Codex rewards, and I've got 49 stages of attribute rewards that I have not claimed simply because of the fact that I compete in Mayhem. But there are a lot of players out there that I really think if you would factor in the Codex rewards that you're going to be getting, you would see a lot higher returns on your investment than what you're seeing. If you're calculating it strictly as, here's my decay, here's my cost of the hunt, here's the loot that I got back, and here's the money I made selling that loot for markup, you might fall short. But now if you add in the value of the skills you're getting, you might be pleasantly surprised. And count it a couple different ways. Count it, number one, from the TT aspect. If I've got a reward that's 25 ped of evade TT, what is that worth if I was to chip it out and sell it on the open market? So take that 25 ped, convert it to points that you would get, then take out your cost of an ESI and what you would lose chipping out, and calculate, given market value of evade, what that reward is worth on the open market. But also calculate it up as if you were to claim that reward, what it would do to your professions, what it would do to your overall defense skills, and then what is that worth to you. And I think if a lot of players would calculate in meta and attribute into the reward or profit or ROI for their hunts, I think they would be pleasantly surprised on a lot of stuff. Now again, if you're out there hunting Mulciber, I don't really think it's going to make two craps of a difference. But there are a lot of lower level, I would say mid-level, I would say mobs level 10 through 15, 20 maybe, that a lot of players are just shy of being able to really hunt profitably. But with the rewards being involved, they could make all the difference and make a mob that's slightly unprofitable very, very profitable. Think of it this way. If you go to a casino and you're playing a slot machine, and you know that slot machine returns 99.5%, so you're losing 0.5%, right? That's not going to be a game you're going to want to play because you know you're going to lose that 0.5%, right? But if the slot club at that casino has a 3% slot club, so now you're playing a 99.5% return game, but you're getting a 3% slot club, you're making 2.5%. Now all of a sudden that game has gone from slightly negative to insanely positive. I want to play that game as much as I can. I want to sit there and drink as much coffee as I can and just max bet through it all day, every day until they kick me out of the casino, right? Because I took it from losing 0.5% without the slot club to winning 2.5% with the slot club. I'm just going to beat that machine to death. So it's kind of like that. Without the Codex, without the attributes, maybe coming to Next Island or Ancient Greece was a losing proposition for you by a little bit. But maybe, just maybe, with Codex and with attributes, now coming to Next Island and Ancient Greece is a winning system for you by a considerable amount. I still think if they really want this place to be popular, if they really want it to be attractive, the one thing they need to do above all else is fix the loot pool. Get rid of this no demand, no markup junk in the loot pool and replace it with stuff that's usable on all planets, that has some amount of demand, some amount of markup. And I understand there's some amount of TT food junk in the loot pool. That's just how Entropia is. But it's considerably worse here than it is anywhere else. And I think fixing that, first and foremost, would do a lot to get more people coming. If you're going to come to Ancient Greece, I do suggest bringing a vehicle like a Sleep or a Quad. It is a much bigger map than you think. It is a very, very large map. Notice I have almost all the teleporters. I might even have them all at this point, but it is quite large. It does take quite a while to get around, and especially when you're first getting started exploring it or trying to do different missions like the beginning of the Gorgon mission, you have to cover a lot of ground. So collecting those teleporters does take quite a bit of time. So guys, we're almost there. We're at 383 points. I am going to go ahead and call this one good. Let me know, have you found a Next Island or Ancient Greek creature that you normally would not be able to hunt because of the loot mix, because of the returns, because of your skill level, that now because of meta and Codex you are able to hunt and it's suddenly profitable or makes more sense to do so? Is there a creature you found on Next Island or Ancient Greece that normally you would have just stayed away from but wanted to hunt, but now because of the kind of rewards you get, all of a sudden you're more than happy to come here and hunt it? Or are you still looking? Have you not found that at all? Is it the opposite? Is even with Codex, even with meta, you're still not able to come do it because of the loot mix and the lack of demand and the lack of markup for a lot of the loot? So guys, again, this is your chance to be heard by the development team. Let them know in the comments below. Are you coming here to hunt because Codex makes it profitable? Are you still not coming because of the loot mix? Even with Codex, it's still unprofitable. Let them know in the comments below, guys. Also, let me know what you think. Are we headed for the day of 1000 HP avatars because of Codex and because of meta? Am I reading the restoration chips and the bones in the well wrong? I think with restoration chips being what they are, I think with Codex and meta, I think that's where we're headed. But if you think I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. Guys, I will finish up the other 100 or so points without making yet another video. And then I will come back at the very end for like the last 10 points or so. We'll start another video. We'll go turn in lore pets and we'll get to doing some taming. And we will go from there. Guys, from earnpet.com, I've been StevieB. Sip, sip, smack, smack, F the haters. If you want to help support us, head over to earnpet.com because when you earn, we earn. That is the best way you guys can help support us. Also, be sure and hit that subscribe button, that little bell. That way you're notified every time we post a new video. Also, be sure and hit that thumbs up like button because I promise you there's haters out there who do not want you knowing how to play smarter and not harder. They are trying to shut us down at every single turn. And the only way to combat that is through the Stevies. They literally wait for us to post a video just so they can hit dislike. So every single like that every single Stevie gets us helps out absolutely tremendously. Guys, we really appreciate all your support. We appreciate all that you guys do. We appreciate everybody being part of the universe. Every single Stevie matters. If you guys are wanting a withdrawal from earnped.com, shoot us a private message in-game. If for some reason you cannot get me in-game, send me an email to sbraggs62@gmail.com. That's sbraggs62@gmail.com. Braggs has 2 G's, SBRAGGS62@gmail.com. Subject line withdrawal. In the body of the email, please put your avatar name, your earnped.com name, which should be the name of your avatar name, and also be sure and let us know how much you're wanting to withdraw and what planet you're usually on. Time zone also helps. We will get back to you ASAP. Honestly, email is the fastest, easiest way to get a hold of me. So guys, I'm going to take a small break. I'm going to finish up about this other 100 points worth of kills. I'll come back for the last few kills, then we'll get on to the taming of the auto loot pet, because that is where I really want to show you guys some interesting stuff about how you can do it faster, smarter, cheaper, and not quite as hard. You do not have to be as high level to tame this pet as you think. You just have to play smarter, not harder. So guys, I've been StevieB for earnped.com. I will see you all with another video, probably about 20 minutes. Take care, guys.